Imagine being a Soviet naval officer in the middle of the Cold War. Your country possesses thousands of nuclear weapons, one of the largest armies in history, and a rapidly expanding navy. Yet there is one American advantage that seems impossible to overcome. Not a bomb, not a missile, not a secret spy program, but an entire system. A system so large, so complex, and so effective that even decades of Soviet effort could not fully replicate it. That system was America's aircraft carrier force. For much of the Cold War, American aircraft carriers represented something far greater than military hardware. They symbolized global reach, industrial strength, technological superiority, and the ability to project power almost anywhere on Earth. The Soviet Union understood the threat. It studied it, it feared it, and it spent billions trying to counter it. But despite all those efforts, Moscow never succeeded in building a carrier system equal to that of the United States. So why was it so difficult? The answer reveals one of the most fascinating military stories of the 20th century. To understand the problem facing the Soviet Union, we need to go back to the years immediately following World War II. The United States emerged from the war in an incredibly strong position. Its homeland had escaped the destruction suffered by Europe and Asia. Its factories were operating at full capacity. Its economy was booming. And its navy had become the most powerful maritime force the world had ever seen. American military planners recognized something important. Future conflicts would not always happen near American territory. The United States needed a way to bring military power anywhere in the world without depending entirely on foreign bases. Aircraft carriers provided the perfect solution. A carrier was essentially a mobile airbase. Instead of flying aircraft from fixed runways, the United States could launch fighter jets, bombers, reconnaissance planes, and support aircraft directly from the ocean. This gave American leaders enormous flexibility. A crisis could emerge thousands of miles away, and a carrier group could be sent to the region almost immediately. For Soviet military planners, this was deeply concerning. The Soviet Union was largely a continental power, and its military strength had traditionally been based on land forces. But the United States was building something different. It was building a global military network. As the Cold War intensified, American carrier groups began appearing in strategic locations around the world: the Mediterranean, the Pacific, the Atlantic, and the Indian Ocean. Wherever tensions increased, there was a good chance an American carrier would soon arrive. And these weren't just ships. They were floating military cities. Each carrier carried thousands of sailors, dozens of aircraft, massive quantities of fuel, weapons, spare parts, food supplies, medical facilities, maintenance crews, and advanced communication systems. The scale was difficult to comprehend, but what made the carriers truly powerful was everything surrounding them. Destroyers protected them, cruisers escorted them, submarines screened them, and supply ships kept them operating. Together, these vessels formed what became known as a carrier battle group. The Soviet Union watched closely. Its intelligence agencies gathered information. Its admirals studied American deployments, and its military analysts tried to determine how the United States had built such an impressive capability. The more they studied it, the more they realized the challenge. The carrier itself was only part of the equation. The real advantage was the system behind it. America possessed a vast network of allies, ports around the world, could support U.S. naval operations. Friendly governments allowed access to strategic locations. Supply chains stretched across entire oceans. Maintenance facilities operated across multiple continents. The aircraft carrier was simply the visible part of a much larger machine, and replicating that machine would prove extremely difficult. By the 1960s, Soviet leaders faced a difficult decision. Should they attempt to build a carrier force similar to America's, or should they focus on destroying American carriers instead? For many years, Soviet planners chose the second option. Rather than matching carriers one for one, they invested heavily in weapons designed specifically to sink them: long-range bombers, anti-ship missiles, attack submarines, and reconnaissance satellites. Entire military programs were developed with one objective in mind: find the carriers, track the carriers, destroy the carriers. American carrier groups became some of the most heavily monitored targets in the world. Soviet submarines frequently followed them. Reconnaissance aircraft photographed them, and intelligence officers analyzed their movements. Yet, even while developing methods to attack carriers, Soviet leaders remained interested in building some of their own. That effort would reveal another major problem. Building a carrier is difficult, but operating one is far more difficult. Landing a jet on a moving ship in rough seas is one of the most demanding tasks in military aviation. Pilots require years of training. Deck crews must work with incredible precision, and maintenance teams must keep aircraft operating under challenging conditions. Every operation involves coordination among thousands of people. The United States had been refining these skills since World War II, and by the time the Cold War reached its peak, American naval aviation had accumulated decades of experience. Experience cannot be purchased. It cannot be built overnight. It must be earned through years of operations, training, mistakes, and improvements. There was another challenge: logistics. Military historians often argue that logistics determine the outcome of wars more than weapons. Aircraft carriers consume enormous resources: fuel, food, aircraft parts, ammunition, medical supplies, and technical equipment. Everything must arrive on time and function properly. America developed a sophisticated logistics network capable of supporting carrier groups almost anywhere in the world. Supply ships could refuel vessels at sea, replacement parts could be delivered quickly, and aircraft could be repaired or replaced when necessary. This logistical capability allowed American carriers to remain operational for extended periods. The Soviet Union struggled to create a comparable system. Its navy was powerful, its sailors were capable, and its engineers were talented. But maintaining global naval operations required a level of logistical support that proved difficult to achieve. As the Cold War continued, the contrast became increasingly clear. American carriers regularly deployed around the globe, participated in military exercises, responded to international crises, and demonstrated American presence in strategic regions. The Soviet Navy remained formidable, its submarines were respected, its missile technology was advanced, and its crews were highly trained, but it never developed the same global carrier capability. One reason was geography. The United States benefited from access to both the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, possessed extensive naval infrastructure, and maintained relationships with allies across multiple continents. The Soviet Union faced different geographic realities, which complicated efforts to create a truly global carrier force. As the 1970s and 1980s progressed, Soviet shipbuilders continued experimenting with larger aviation-capable vessels. Some projects showed promise, others encountered delays and technical challenges, yet the overall gap remained. American carriers continued evolving. Aircraft improved, radar systems advanced, communications became more sophisticated, and operational experience continued growing. The United States was not standing still. While the Soviet Union attempted to catch up, America kept moving forward. Then came the final chapter, the collapse of the Soviet Union. Economic pressures had already placed enormous strain on military spending, and maintaining ambitious naval programs became increasingly difficult. When the Soviet Union dissolved in 1991, many plans for future naval expansion effectively ended. Meanwhile, America's carrier system remained intact. The infrastructure, the logistics, the training, the operational experience, and the global network all continued functioning.